Hello, this is my 1978 Cessna 182 RG. A lot of people refer to it as a 182 RG, but the official model number is R182, and the RG portion stands for retractable gear. I believe since the late 1950s, Cessna made the fixed gear version, and here's a good example of one, where the landing gear is permanently welded down, if you will, whereas on mine, the landing gear goes up and down, hopefully, at least most of the time anyways. The reason that we're here today is it's annual inspection time, and it's funny because there's an old joke in aviation that basically goes something like this. It says, you know what keeps an airplane flying, right? And the other guy says, yeah, it's money, and that's absolutely correct. Here is a good example of what we're going to do is basically take this airplane apart. First we're going to start on the inside, then on the outside, then we go to the engine compartment, change the oil, the filter, and inspect the heck out of the airplane, make sure that there's no defects or discrepancies. Hopefully we're not going to find too many discrepancies, but we always find something. And in the process you spend prodigious amounts of money in order to either pay the mechanic to do it themselves, or hopefully, if you're an individual like myself who likes to work on airplanes and cars and those sorts of mechanical things, you can help reduce those costs by doing a lot of the work yourself. And as you can see, it's not that difficult. You just have to be methodical and organized, and take your time and just do it. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to show you the whole process. Okay, before we get started, I'd like to mention that all the work that you're going to see performed here is going to be done by myself, with the exception of the actual inspection of the airplane. That needs to be done by a certified airframe and powerplane mechanic, and then it needs to be signed off by the mechanic that has an inspection authorization. So basically all that I'm doing is facilitating the work by, you know, opening up the airplane so that the inspection can be accomplished without too much of their time. So let's get started. So to give you an idea of how the money is being spent, so you are looking at one oil filter right there, a case of oil which has 12 quarts. The engine uses 8 quarts, and there's some Corrosion X lubricant and corrosion prevention for all the pulleys and hinges and that sort of thing. You're looking at a grand total of $135, including California sales tax, which is nearly 10%. And the oil filter alone was $22.50. The case of oil, I believe, was $76. So there's the first chunk of change. And next we're going to take out all the pieces that are inside the airplane. I have a bag over here that has all kinds of spare parts and chocks and all sorts of things. We're going to take off the seats. We're going to take off all the carpets, and underneath the carpets there's a ton of inspection plates. Those have to come off. And then likewise, this is the rear bench seat. Here is the 2 front seats that has to come out. I have a center console that has to come out. There's the carpets down there that has to come out. And let's get started. Alright, so I've taken everything that was loose inside the airplane, such as the center console. There was some stuff underneath the seat over here, the rear bench, and everything in the luggage compartment is gone. So we're ready to take out the seats. We're going to first take out the rear bench seat, and then we take out the 2 front seat, the pilot and co-pilot seat. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about some of the equipment and tools that you're going to need. It's pretty simple stuff that you're going to need. You're going to need a good cordless screwdriver, needle nose pliers, sockets and wrenches, basic wrenches. but you will need some specialized tools such as this wire twister or safety wire twister, and here's the safety wire itself. I'm using 32 thousandths, and you're going to need the oil spout so you can put the oil back into the engine. We'll get to those details once we do the oil change and oil filter change. But I should also mention that you will need the official Cessna parts book and service manual to go along with it, which I do have in my possession. And that's about it. So let me show you how to take off the seats. Alright, as I stated earlier, you're going to need the service manual, which is right here, all 800 pages of it, and you also need the parts catalog. There's only about 400 pages there. You're going to need your logbooks because at the end of the inspection the mechanic has to search for any airworthiness directives and make sure that everything is signed off. And we're just about ready to start taking off the seats. Just one more note, I like to use these zip lock bags, and as you can see, this one is labeled seats, hardware, and emergency gear screws. So I like to put all the hardware that I take off, such as nuts and screws and bolts, into these little baggies, and I shut them closed. And when you go to reassemble the airplane, you're going to get back all the parts, nicely organized, and you're not going to have any extras, and you're not going to be missing any. So I use these little Ziploc bags for just about everything, including the access panels and the screws and just about everything else. So let's get started taking off the seats. Alright, so we're ready to take out the seats, and the easiest way that I found to take the rear seat or the rear bench seat out is to actually take it out first. But in order for us to do that, I have to take some hardware off the front seats first, such as these little seat stops. There's one right here which is held in place by a cotter pin, and there's an equivalent one right in the front, right over here. So we got to take these two seat stops out. This way I can slide this pilot seat all the way forward. Likewise, we're going to do the same thing for the co-pilot seat. And in the process, we have to remove these seat belts because they're kind of in the way of the rear bench. So there's a 7/16 nut and a 7/16 bolt with a 5/16 nut and washer on here, on the inside, on the inboard, and then equivalent one on the outboard, which is right here. So we got to take that out first before we can attack the rear bench seat. The rear bench seat is held in place with 5 bolts. There's a 3/8 bolt right here, and then there's a 7/16 bolt with a 5/16 washer back here. There's one on this side and another one on the other side. So that's 1, 2, 3 bolts here in the front, and then in the back there are 2 other bolts, 7/16. And if you just tilt the seat forward, you'll be able to access it. There's one right there, and another one right there on the other side. There it is. And then these seat belts are really easy. You just slide this spring-loaded mechanism out, and these guys come right off. Unfortunately, I got the camera in my hand. It makes it kind of difficult, but it's a spring-loaded thing here, and it just goes through that loop. Let's try this side over here. You put the camera down. Okay, there it is. That's one. And there's 2. So this seat belt comes right off. And we do have to take these holders down in order to remove the carpet and to access the inspection plates, inspection covers down below the carpet. Okay, so let me work on the front seats here, and we'll get back to you momentarily. Alright, so we're going to take out this rear seat stop. As I said, you kind of flatten the cotter pin down, and then you use a pair of needle nose pliers to pull the cotter pin out of that pin. It's kind of hard because the carpet is right there, so there it is. And you slide the pin backwards and it comes out this way, and here it is. So you put it back in, and you kind of temporarily put the cotter pin back in there, and into the goodie bag it goes. So it's all set to go. So now we're going to do the same thing to the front. Okay, so here's the front one. So what we do is the cotter pin is spread out, so you flatten it out. See, kind of spread out like that. You kind of flatten it out, kind of hold it in place, then with the needle nose pliers get in there and pull that guy right out, just like that. And then once again you take out the pin. Here's that clip, and attach it temporarily, and again into the bag it goes. Okay, so now we're ready to attack the seat belts. Okay, now that you've taken the rear seat stop out, you can slide the seat all the way back, and that gives you plenty of access to take out the seat belt. And it takes a 7/16 along with a 5/16 bolt. And in this particular case, I like to keep this hardware with the seat belt, because this guy here loops around a metal bar right here that stays attached to the seat. Okay. So okay, so here it is. There's a bolt, a washer, a spacer. Okay. I put it back in there, and on this side there's also a washer and a nut, which I keep it attached like this, and this seat belt stays attached right here to the seat. We're going to do the same thing now to this side here. Okay, so here it is once again. There's a washer right here. You put it back in here with the nut, and that hardware stays attached to the seatbelt, except that I forgot that this guy here actually has to come out of that little holder on the side, because we're going to take this seat out. So I've just removed it from up here. Okay, there's a thing right here on the side that keeps the belt through. I just pulled it out, and now we're going to put the hardware back. So that's about it. We're going to do the same thing to the co-pilot seat, and then we'll get back to you. Alright, so I've taken out all the hardware associated with the pilot and the co-pilot seat, and you can see this seat belt is just hanging by this metal slide thing here. And the seat belts that normally went to the inboard sides are now just laying over here, because they're attached to the top inertia reels here. So we're ready to attack the rear bench, and we're going to start out with this middle bolt, which has got a 3/8, and we're going to take that guy out. Okay, so it's almost out. And here it is. It's got a washer in there as well. And into the bag it goes.